I'm sure it isn't.
It's not, but I can tell you
what is worth going into.
Oh, it was more of a situation than it was me going into something situation. But I can tell you that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and squirrels, welcome to one of many podcasts on planet God Dang Earth, where we review anything and everything that's on Joey's stupid arbitrary list of comic book related paraphernalias. This is the Comic Book Rundown presents Rundown Reviews.
Presents
I don't think I've ever
Star
said
Wars year. Oh,
yeah. Welcome to 2024, where we are apparently
We're doing
talking
Star
about
Wars,
Star Wars?
one Star Wars movie a month because there's 12 of them at the moment. So we're doing one a month
in chronological order.
Hails, yes, we are.
You mean I signed on to a year-long commitment? I don't know.
I told you about
buddy.
this, sir. You said yes.
Listen,
Jordan.
We have a really important rule. If you don't show up, you don't get to be on the podcast. It's just how it works.
I mean, well, that seems fair. I'm just going to show up for like 3 or 4 of them. That's it.
Perfect.
Come in for the good ones.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah. Well, no, he's here for this one.
I failed to begin with, yes.
I, of course, am the man who did this
We'll get into it.
I am Chuck. I also am the man who's going to remind you that there's no law that says you can't put strawberry cream cheese on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So
no, it's fucking delicious.
It's so good. It's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. Hey, real quick, I feel like I can't remember if we had a conversation about this or not before, but specifically since there's somebody new here, I'm going to ask it. Jordan, do you eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches?
No, I just eat peanut butter sandwiches. I'm not a huge fan of jelly, to be honest. I just love peanut butter more than any person should.
But peanut butter is a good protein, especially for people
protein.
who work out. So, yeah.
Do you put anything at all? Like, if you were going to put something else in it of a jam, jelly, preserve, or spread variety?
So here's what I've done in the past, and I'll do this sometimes when I'm feeling fancy. I'll put some honey on it and a banana, cut up a banana and all that.
Hell yeah.
That's
I used to eat that for breakfast every morning.
Yeah, that's a good one. Like if I need like a quick sandwich for like if I'm working somewhere where I have to be like out for a while, and I don't have access to a refrigerator. That's always like good.
It's got to be toast though. You can't do it with bread because then the honey and the banana.
I like it just bread because it's all soft. Everything is soft on it.
So Ron, you need to put a thin layer of butter down on your bread.
That's peanut butter, and you put a thick layer. No, I don't like how soft bread is. Like I don't like bread in general. I like toast.
See, I'm the opposite. I like soft bread. I can't stand a panini. Give me a fucking panini, and I'm done. It's gonna cut my mouth up like Captain Crunch.
You know what was
absolutely not.
You know what was like shocking to me? I went like you guys probably. I haven't talked to you in a really, really long time, but over the summer, my wife and I went to France, and I'd never been to Europe before.
Nice.
The shocking thing to me was their bread was like hard as a brick everywhere we went. So hard. I'm like, I couldn't get on board with that. That was a little too much for me.
It's very crusty.
Very
crusty baguette.
Look, toast is still soft. It's just not as soft as bread is.
It's crunchy
you and I make
soft.
different layers of toast.
I guess it depends on how long you think toast is.
Toast is where it's slightly gold on either side. I don't want it like the color of my blanket, you know?
Okay. That makes sense.
I'm really glad you specified that was your blanket, because you moved just quick enough that I wasn't sure what I was looking at for a second.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
If you want
anyway, we watched
go to
Star
Ron's
Wars
OnlyFans.
Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I, of course, am the man who did this introduction.
Yeah, I was going to ask again. Okay.
Chuck, are you ever going to finish the introduction? Damn.
Yeah, listen. I am nothing if I am not. I will stand. There's nothing I enjoy, and there's nothing I enjoy more than wasting my own time. Okay,
that's all true. You like wasting other people's time too.
No, but nobody's time is worth less than mine. Okay, to me, so I will waste my own time. I, of course, am joined by the CEO, editor-in-chief, supreme ruler, and reptilian overlord of the professional casual. Nope, of Comic Book Rundown. You're not Tim. Joey's here.
There you go.
Ron's here, and then of course,
I mean,
you had to make it a 4-man booth where we're just going to talk over each other the entire time.
Yes. Welcome to Wreck My Podcast. Oh wait.
Yep. I'm not gonna lie.
I understand what's that.
Oh man,
I feel like you're talking about something that doesn't exist anymore.
It does. You just have to go to the dark corners of the dark web to find it anymore. Otherwise known as YouTube.
Oh, that sounds terrifying.
I think I still got access to the Patreon. I don't know if that ever went away, but yeah,
beats me, man.
There's that.
Listen, the
saying.
second that they like
What's
hung
up?
up the last episode, he washed his hands of that shit just like I did. Like
I turned off the feed and I was just like, I'm over it. I'm done.
Yep. Yeah, it was hard. Like it's hard, especially when like I don't have a wife to bring onto the show to save it. You know what I mean? Like I had Tim,
Yeah,
and he's not as pretty.
Wait,
I promise.
You and Tim weren't married?
Shockingly, no.
Sure
Though
seemed
there
like it.
were like,
What was the legal binding contractual relationship you had? I thought that just meant you guys were married.
Contractually obligated friend.
Yeah,
with benefits.
So, like, so we could get a 2-for-1 deal on a BJ's membership.
2-for-1 on BJ's, nice.
Yeah, yeah. Joey, you brought this.
Does
up
it have to happen
man.
does it have to happen at the same time, or does it like?
No, we each
you
get
say
a membership.
You
card.
say I brought this on myself, but this is just normal, even without Jordan here. You guys just want to talk about everything but the movie.
Yeah,
let's get into
this movie.
It's not my favorite one.
Listen, Joey, these negotiations are going to be short, okay?
No, I don't think they will be. I think these might be about an hour long, maybe.
Real quick.
No, yeah. So
before we get into it,
it's already been 7 minutes. Of course, we're not going to get into it.
This is actually related to the movie.
Okay.
They have a 3D released version of this, and I missed it.
Wait, what was the question? I missed that question.
I believe they re-released it in 3D in theaters. I don't know if it ever came out on Blu-ray or DVD.
It did not. I saw it when it got re-released in theaters in 3D, but I was waiting because I own all of these movies in almost every form they've ever come out in, including VHS. So I've got
them all VHS as well, except for
I've been waiting for the 3D version of this, but I don't think it ever came out.
Yeah, I remember that buying the Phantom Menace and Attack the Clones the night they came out, VHS and DVD, and then when Revenge of the Sith was coming out, I'm like, oh man, I gotta complete the collection, and then it never came out. And I'm like,
I know.
Fucking tools.
Same thing with me. And then I'm still holding on to my original DVDs of both trilogies because they're the only things you can find anymore that have the original versions of every single movie.
Same. I've got the original of the original.
I watched this on Disney Plus, and I forgot how much stuff they had changed, even from when they originally released this in '99. I was like, oh my gosh, they went back. I was like, why does Yoda look so much better than all the other CG in this? Oh, that's right. They didn't put a CG Yoda in this till 2005. That's why.
That's right, because it was that shitty puppet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it originally came out in '99. It was still a puppet, and I was like, oh,
I remember that being creepy as hell.
Yeah, it was not a good version puppet of it. No.
But speaking of the CGI, though, there was definitely some CGI shots, and I know I'm jumping to the end with Chuck's, Spawn Cape Continuum, but there were CGI shots in the very beginning, specifically with the droids that didn't work, and sometimes with Jar Jar Binks. But then there were times throughout the rest of the movie where the CGI worked really well. So I don't know why it just.
I don't know what you guys felt about this, but I feel like anytime they did a landscape and ships, it was very nice. But anytime they tried to do an organic life form or the bipedal droids, the lighting never seemed correct. And if you watch the droids trying to walk down stairs in the palace, they're not even touching the floor. I'm like, what is happening?
Well, and even the landscape was all practical. They actually built, little miniature models of these. And that's why the landscape looks amazing.
Well, it's funny because when the control ship blows up and stuff, my wife sat down for the end to watch it while we were eating lunch, and she was like, "Oh, that looked really good." I'm like, "Yeah, because they're still using the practicals in the originals with the miniatures and having them explode and stuff." I'm like, but anything else they try to do CG, Jar Jar Binks looks awful. Just the lighting on him, I feel like we get better in gameplay video game graphics now than this movie has. It's,
sure.
It's
and
weird.
even you look at any of the Star Wars stuff coming out now, all the stuff on Disney Plus, looks amazing. But that's also 20 years from this movie. You know,
not
like they've.
You mean George Lucas hasn't gone and fixed it all yet? Come on, even though he doesn't own it anymore, he should be coming back and tinkering with it.
He washed his hands in 2011, so I don't think he cares.
Man. Yep.
But I do have a question though. So opening scene when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are there doing the negotiations, and the Trade Federation goes to blow up the ship, and they go blow up, like try and kill Qui-Gon and them. Why did the co-pilot immediately yell at the pilot, the captain, like, "Hey, look, Captain, this gun's going to shoot at us"? Why didn't he just immediately raise the shields and deal with consequences?
It's called hierarchy. You have to run it up the flagpole. You can't if you work in corporate America, you're never allowed to make a decision on your own.
That is completely accurate.
I mean, yes.
Both military, so yup.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Court-martialed and whipped.
He's still
been alive though.
That's true, but here's the real question: why was the captain a 13-year-old kid? I've always wondered that. It looks like a 13-year-old child as the captain. Ever since I was a child, I was like, "Hey, I could pilot that. I could captain that."
Because he was a good pilot, apparently.
Because
she was.
This entire universe and everything is designed around the idea of weaponizing children.
Yeah.
True. You're right. That's very, very true.
You got to start somewhere. You know what I mean?
So Qui-Gon, to me, I never realized how problematic he was, actually, because I realized he manipulates his power. So how many times did he use or try to use the mind trick on? I'm like, you kind of are a bad guy. Aren't you?
Whenever it suited him.
Yeah, whenever. Except for the one time he could have used it, and he's like, "Oh no, we need to let them make that decision on their own," or whatever. I'm like, you had no problem though, like 4 other times before this, just being like, "Yeah, give me what I want. I'm over it. Give me it."
Yeah, the second you start to realize that the Jedi are not good people and are just a really bad representation of any type of nationalism that ever has happened ever, especially in a religious based country and things like that, you start to really realize oh, the only good people are the scum and villainy in this. That's my takeaway from having loved Star Wars as a kid. Getting to watch, I watched this in the theater. This was my first exposure to this movie, was actually watching it in the theater. And this was also the first time I'd ever seen Star Wars in a theater. I had watched the original trilogy on a 13-inch colored television screen hooked up to a VHS, and that was my exposure.
Wow, you really had colored TV? Must have been nice. No.
Well, it was to be fair, it was my aunt's, and they had a lot of money, so I watched I remember when they released the original trilogy on the VHS tapes, and it was redone sound or something was the big selling point or something.
The THX. So,
when they moved them 18 different times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so that was my first exposure to Star Wars, and I loved it. It was everything I wanted. It was lightsabers and explosions and war and dope suits, and
that's
just
it's kind of made for kids,
right? 100%. It's
Star Wars is made for kids, still is to this day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important to going into this is this. So for our generation, this was our Star Wars. The prequels are our Star Wars, and I get why the Gen X, older, crusty Star Wars fans hated this, because they weren't kids anymore. And this is tailored to kids. It's like the first Harry Potter movies, right? Are very kiddie, and then as they get better, or as they go and he gets older, he gets darker, right? It's the same concept here. We're gonna start really light and kiddie and dope lightsaber battles and stuff like that, and half-ass written political espionage going on, and almost developing a really good female character that gets fucking ruined in the next 2 movies. But I don't know. I don't
know. She's still pretty dope in the second one. For half of it, anyway.
She's fine. I wanted to go into this movie and be like, okay, I remember that I love this. I love Star Wars. And I tend to be really cynical when I watch stuff for this podcast. I'm going to try to sit down, because I don't think I've also really sat down and watched this actually focused on it and paid attention to it since I was a kid.
Mm.
And I'm going to try to watch it with an adult lens. And there's some stuff I really liked. Other stuff I just, I get why fucking old people don't like this movie, because it's not great. It's
Chuck,
a lot of dumb, stupid humor.
Have you kept up on all the Disney Plus like TV shows and stuff that have been coming out?
I made it through most of the Mandalorians. I tapped out at Book of Boba.
Okay.
And then I watched the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, really liked it, and then forgot about it. But yeah.
The thing about the prequels too, and almost makes it a little bit like as an adult, to be honest, I love these movies. This is probably the lowest rated Star Wars film on my list, even with the new movies, and I gave it a 3 out of 5. I enjoyed a lot of this movie. There's some clunky things that, I'm not a huge fan of. And I don't think it ages very well sometimes. And not just the CGI, but some other things. But with all the new stuff that's come out in the past 15 years, they've retconned a lot of the prequels that makes it way cooler than it was before. So now with that lens, you almost can appreciate it a tad bit more. So I feel like Clone Wars and all of that and everything has really opened this whole thing up.
It's one of those things that I've said a lot, and I think I actually heard it from somebody else. But I tend to say, if you have a problem with Star Wars, the answer is more Star Wars. Because, like you said, Jordan, more the stuff that's coming out now, yes, it retcons, but it more fixes whatever questions or whatever problems people had with some of these movies, TV shows. Like I've kept up.
It's
outside of the books. Sure, but because the thing is, you're watching a movie and you knowingly this movies are a trilogy, so we know going into this we're going to be getting 3 parts of this one tale, but each part is their own thing, and it should be able to tell a complete story from start to finish in that movie, while the trilogy set will have a bigger story, and then the saga will have an even bigger story.
Right, but okay, so
then you throw in the TV shows, which comes into question, and they retcon, they redo, they change things, which shouldn't happen, but it does, and I'm not a huge fan of that, but I still just like Star Wars. So I don't know. I guess
no, it's fair. I mean, I like most of the shows. Some of them were garbage. Some of them were just time fillers. But they didn't do terrible on. But my problem is they did so many inconsistencies between 4, 5, and 6, and 1, 2, and 3 that they already had all the information for it. They could have made the story any way they wanted to fit into rolling right into 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
But then we got Han Solo, or the Solo movie, and we got the fuck
Rogue
was
One.
the other one? Yeah, which I still have not watched that all the way through without falling asleep. But
Rogue One?
Ooh.
Dude, that's my favorite of the mainline.
I keep hearing that.
It's in my top 5.
Dude,
I keep
it's
hearing
so
that.
Good. And the Andor show.
What about it do you find boring?
I don't know. It's just
we'll get into that in 5 movies. Okay, we'll get to Rogue One. We'll get there.
All right, let's talk about what
I want to argue about this now. This is
fuck off. No,
comment.
We'll find out in a couple months.
Andor was a great show, though. I liked Andor. I watched that whole show through in 2 days, I think, because I don't watch it as they come out. I wait till they fall out.
Out, so
I fell asleep during Andor.
Ron can't talk about Rogue One right now because Rogue One is his parents, like Kreger's parents. He never finished the movie yet. He says he hated it. You can't say you hate a movie.
No, Ron never said he hated it. He didn't say he hated it. He said he fell asleep. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Though he did say he hated it. At one point, he said, "This movie is terrible." I said, "You never finished the movie."
Well, look, I'll do the same way we do on this show. If I can't make it all the way through a show, it's probably not that great.
Or you're just extra tired that day.
Maybe. I've tried watching it 3 times.
Those were the 3 days you were super tired.
Well, you'll watch it when we cover it in a couple months. So,
or he'll be
That's
like my
have that to look
co-host
forward to.
never
Watch it
watched.
during the day.
Yeah,
well,
okay.
Kreger is special.
Yeah, I have some. Do you guys on this I forget because you guys typically go off on tangents so much. Do we go through plot points on the way through, or do we just talk about the movie?
We just talk about the movie.
Talk about whatever,
Okay,
whenever.
so let me bring up some
We
things.
used to start in the beginning and then go through, but then it became hey, let's just talk about whatever, whenever, and just make it go.
I usually cover my points in order. Like I got my negotiations were short. We already talked about how Jar Jar was garbage, but we never talked about how fucking annoying he is. Because
I didn't think he was annoying.
He's kids. It's fine.
The only thing that makes Jar Jar worth being in these is the theory that he's actually a Sith Lord, because that fucking shit cracks me up.
Yeah, but you really don't get that until 2 and 3. Well,
that's
really
not
more
true.
2 than 3.
He does shit in this that makes him look like he's got Jedi powers, or that he's manipulating things with the Force, but making it look like he's an accidental idiot.
He's more like what's the character in Deadpool? Black Cat or no Domino? Which one is the one that has good luck?
Domino.
He's pretty much Domino in the Star Wars universe. Like everything just went perfectly.
Except Domino was 1, hot, and 2, relevant to the whole story.
There it is.
I mean,
without Jar Jar, they would not.
You don't see the sexiness of Jar Jar Binks. That's the issue. You know what I mean?
So okay, here's another thing. After they save Jar Jar, right? He's like, "Oh, I'll take you to the Gungan hidden city." It's not fucking hidden. It's right. It's like fucking 20 feet below the surface of the fucking lake, and they've got so many lights on there that if you were to like walk by there at night, you'd be like, "Oh, somebody lives down there." That's not what hidden means.
But have you ever tried to like walk out into the redwoods forest and be like, I'm gonna go find a lake?
No, because I don't live in fucking California.
But that's what I mean. Like they're in a giant forested area. It's hidden because it's not marked on a map anywhere. Sure, you could stumble across it, but like
it's a massive lake. And if you were to fly over this world, you would probably see the lights from that city out of the lake, out of the atmosphere.
Maybe, I don't know. They didn't give us the shot, so you can't say it. They didn't show us. Maybe they have like their little shield generator thing like over the top of the lake, and it dills the lights or something.
I mean, the shield generators were what kept the water out of their city, but
so here, my points are in like the order of the movie. So I want to start with something. At the very beginning, they show up on the space station to do negotiations,
Trade
right?
Federation.
Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. So they're like, okay, let's kill the Jedi by filling the room up with gas, right? Why didn't they fill the room up with gas, lock the door, and just wait 3 days? I don't care if you're a Jedi or not. You couldn't make it 3 days not breathing. Like, instead, they're like, let's give them 1 minute, and then let's send some droids over there and be like, they must be dead by now, but finish off what's left of them. If they're dead, there's nothing to finish off. Why did you wait so shortly? Just like, or like eject the room, like put them in the room and just eject it out into space or something.
Well, they had a 2:00 meeting in that room.
Oh, they had to reset.
Like, come on,
dude. That's a legit thing. Like, oh, hey, you got the meeting room until 1:30. At 1:25, there's going to be a line of people outside waiting, wondering why you haven't finished your meeting up yet.
I get so there are a lot more Silver Protocol droids out there, just like, okay, I need to get in here and serve juice. Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, if you would have looked at the side when they're walking out, there's actually a scheduled meeting list on the side, and the Jedi negotiations were only scheduled for 15 minutes. So,
gotcha. Okay, so it
was just negotiations. They didn't know they were Jedi. That's why they called Darth Sidious.
Maybe that's why they didn't have any good plan for it.
Guys? Jedi are the worst people for disguises. They just like go out and wear their robes and stuff that are completely shows. That
I don't know. Have you seen anybody in the MCU? Their disguises are sunglasses and a hat, and apparently that works.
Sure.
Wow. Hey, what about Superman, whose fucking hidden identity is glasses? Come on, dude.
It works for whatever reason.
I just mean, I imagine the Star Wars universe.
Everybody knows what a Jedi looks like.
Exactly. Like,
I don't know. Isn't that the thing? Yeah. Don't Jedi want people to know who they are because they are?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but when they're on Tatooine, though, they're trying to be incognito.
They put their hood up
on their Jedi cloak,
and then
actually on Tatooine, he's got a poncho. So
That's
yeah,
right. He does
I don't
have a pawn show, but he does show his lightsaber to whoever the heck is around and doesn't care.
You
which
just
happens
Look,
just
hey,
some,
mind wipe.
some
I mean, come on.
street rap
when-
from the slums.
When you're swinging the big green stick, you just show it off. So
Now, one thing that always bothered me growing up watching this movie is they set something up, a force ability we had not yet seen in a movie. At the very beginning of the movie, they set it up, and then it doesn't come back into play, and actually frustrates me at the end. They show you when the droidicas come up, and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are like, oh, it's a stalemate, and then they do a force dash down the hallway, super quick run. Why the heck
I got that written down.
didn't Obi-Wan use that to run through the shields? Now, the only thing I can think of is, like in a video game, maybe his force stamina bar was like too far down that he couldn't actually do it. But he was also using the force and battling on the space station and was able to do it. So that also doesn't make sense. Like he was fresh over there.
I'm gonna say in the very beginning they were holding the breath. They weren't really fighting a lot. He wasn't expelling a lot of energy. But at the end, he got like kicked in the face a couple times by Darth Maul. So he was not,
and he did have to force jump up 2 different levels of walkways.
Okay, but they even had a moment for him to take a breath, though. Like the thing stopped, and they're all just kind of standing there waiting. I'm like, this is the time for you to regenerate.
But see, if you've ever played like the Jedi Fallen Order, you'll know that you don't get your force power back until you go to the save point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or hurt more enemies, yeah.
Yeah. No, you get your health by going to the save point. But then, yeah, I just always had a problem with that as a kid. Like,
you know what, though? As an adult, I have a problem with they have no safety rails anywhere in this place. What the fuck are these people doing?
That's just Star Wars.
Yeah, that's the universe. Because when we get to A New Hope, when the guys are blasting the or do the controls for the Death Star, there's a little platform, 2 guys on this tiny platform, and no rails.
Yeah,
I
remember
that only because of Family Guy.
Yes, I asked for a rail. You know what they said? You'd be leaning on it. So good. I always thought that about Coruscant too. Like you have these apartments that are like 1,300 stories in the air, and there's just like open platforms everywhere. Like people must be really aware of where they're walking in this universe.
Well, if you're rich enough, you've got like a garden around it, or a little like something to pots to like make sure you don't go over the edge.
Yeah, and if you're poor enough and you fall off the edge, you don't have to pay for anything. So I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, your debt is erased. Did anyone else want like to know more about Captain Panaka? I always thought his character was so cool, and I wanted like a Captain Panaka like side story.
You get to play as him in the video game.
I believe in the Battlefront. I believe, yeah. I do believe in the novels. They go a little more in depth on him. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've read the novelization of the movie. But I do know that the novels. I know the clone Attack of the Clones novel really made me look at the movie differently. Like they actually do a lot more, explain a lot more in the book than they do in the movie. So
does he talk about the sand a lot more? Wait, was that Attack of the Clones or was that Revenge of the Sith? I can't remember.
That's Attack of the Clones.
Is it okay?
No, but they do in that one. They do hit the. There's a better build up for the love story versus just I'm gonna force feed you a pear and pretend I like got hurt off of this.
There's a clip somewhere where they're like, all right, so we need to send somebody with this super attractive senator to her home planet to guard her. What if we send our really hot young Jedi who already has emotional trauma issues?
Yep. That tracks.
Well, that's another movie, and we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is the fucking eyesore that is every green screen that they did in this thing.
Oh yeah, they did not have that.
Than the next one.
Yeah, they did not have that downgrade. Also, a lot of the things they put in the background of stuff just looked awful to me too. Like in the Naboo cruiser when they're leaving Naboo, there's just like they go into the hold cell area and there's just Pelican cases everywhere, just regular Pelican cases, just stacked up everywhere. And then remember in Anakin's room, there's that little like ball throwy thing that they just painted silver.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also there was another thing. What was it? Oh man, now I'm not going to remember. But there was another thing where I was like, that's just like a stupid thing you could find anywhere. And they didn't even try to hide the fact that like these are
Was
just
it Qui-Gon's communicator?
maybe it was
which is,
Qui-Gon's communicator.
There's
Hang
a
on.
woman's Gillette shaver that they
Is that what it was? I didn't notice that one.
painted. Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah,
Nice.
I remember that back in the day. Like I think because my sisters had one, and so like anytime I go to the bathroom, it's be there in the shower.
Did you try talking to other Jedi with it?
No, because no.
You know, it was something I learned
Jedi
as an
don't like
adult that I was like, oh, that's kind of funny because Keira Knightley, obviously playing Sabe, who is essentially Queen Amidala for most of the movie. I never knew that was Keira Knightley until way later. And then I was like, Keira Knightley, wasn't she bigger than Natalie Portman at the time this movie came out? Or no?
Nope.
Was this her first
Nope.
role
She
ever
was,
in a movie?
I believe this was her first role, or if it wasn't, it was very early on. Natalie Portman had a handful of roles before this one. Not a lot, but just enough.
Keira Knightley then goes on, I think shortly after this, the next thing I remember her in was Love Actually.
Yeah.
Which was like a few years later.
So I'm looking at her IMDb right now.
And then Pirates of the Caribbean shortly after
Pirates
that.
was like a big, big role for her. And then I guess Sofia Coppola is actually one of the handmaidens too, which I didn't know about till I looked this up.
What movie did you say was the next one you saw her in?
Love Actually.
Love Actually. That is after Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, is it? Oh, damn. When did Pirates come out? Like 2001?
Oh, the next Pirates was 2003. Love Actually was also 2003.
Gotcha.
But Pirates came out before it, or according to IMDb anyway. She was in Bend It Like Beckham in 2002.
Never saw that, so
that
that's
was probably her next big one. I say everything else is, I guess, I mean, not saying that everything else was not big, but
that's a movie people have heard
nothing
of.
else really stood out to me anyway.
Yeah, and
like I mean, I remember seeing her in King Arthur. I really liked King Arthur with her in it.
Was that a kids movie? No, I'm thinking of the kid in King Arthur's Court.
No. yeah.
The one where the pizza delivery kid goes.
Definitely a different one.
What a great movie. That's great. Does anyone else think it's weird that they had Anakin build C-3PO? Like, why did he build him? How did
for his mom?
Parts?
Because he was stealing them from the shop, obviously.
It just seems like, couldn't they have introduced C-3PO like as a, because we know protocol droids exist, like there's a million of him around in the universe. Couldn't they have like introduced him like in Coruscant or something, and then be like, hey, he's going to go with you now, and that's kind of how they meet, instead of it being like, hey, Anakin made you, and then he's going to leave you, and then we're not going to see you again until the next movie, and then you kind of show up in like a random way, and then it's a weird connection. It feels forced to me a little bit.
It is one of those plot point development things that George Lucas does, where it's just like, this will be a really good idea, and I'm really smart and really clever, and then there's no payoff for it. He ends up retconning it at the end, where he wipes C-3PO, like does a reset. C-3PO unplugs him back in, and then doesn't remember him, and then I don't know, Vader also gets his brain wiped, so he doesn't remember C-3PO at all either. It's little things like that. I always thought it was always weird that Chewie shows up in the prequels too.
Yeah. It's too much connective tissue that doesn't need to be there. It's fine to have a little bit, but you don't, like the moment when Obi-Wan meets Anakin, perfect, because they're going to have a story. You've seen the end of it. You've seen where it leads to. That's fine, but you don't need every freaking character to show up in every single movie. Except for Warwick Davis. He has to show up in every movie.
Yeah.
Nobody gave a shit about C-3PO. Nobody cares about C-3PO. He's not I would rather, I mean, I put C-3PO and Jar Jar Binks in the same like category. So I don't know.
Terrible comedic relief.
Well, but that's why, like in the original trilogy, 3PO and R2 were supposed to be for most of it, kind of like the kids.
Look, let's just be honest. This is not Star Wars. This is R2D2 Wars. Because without R2D2, nothing would have ever happened.
It's that YouTube channel, like how it should have ended. I would love it just to be like, R2, you need to get us off autopilot so that we don't get shot, and then he can't do it, and then they get shot, and the end. The whole Star Wars saga.
I mean, to be fair, there's a good moment where Anakin does not duck down when Darth Maul is about ready to run him over, and that ends the trilogy.
Yeah, I've seen that
whole series. So,
but even beyond that, when they are leaving Naboo, if R2 would have gotten shot off the wing, they would have gotten blown out of the sky right there too, and then the movie would have been over.
So I don't think it's. I mean, I'm no parent or legal guardian, but if Qui-Gon is now Anakin's legal guardian, why would he bring him into the middle of a battle zone and be like, just stay out of the way, even though there's going to be tons of gunfire?
Because the Jedi are not good people.
Jedi are terrible parents.
They are terrible parents. But he wasn't even being trained as a Jedi. At this point, he was a civilian. He brought a civilian into a war zone and just be like, yeah, just watch me and get out of the way.
It was 100% a dad being like, yo, you want to see some cool shit? Like, mom's not home.
Hold the goddamn flashlight steady. Oh.
Be like, don't tell your mother, but we're about to go do some really cool illegal stuff. It's going to be great.
Fireworks and beer, kids. Fireworks and beer. Oh.
I do want to talk about something
in the back of a room.
I want to get everyone's opinion on this because I actually have a different opinion than I used to. But the biggest topic of this movie, midichlorians. Thoughts?
I mean, if you look at Chuck's,
I am Joy's midichlorian rich tit.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't. Why?
If they would have just said that they sensed his power level and it was over 9,000, I'd have been okay with that.
Yeah.
But like,
if they would have just been like, I have never felt more force come from another person ever, I'd have been okay with that. But the midichlorian thing is Star Wars symbiote, I guess. And you have to have the symbiote to affect the force, which means that it's not actually
the thing.
No, you don't. Everyone has it.
That's
the thing. It only speaks to certain people, which is exactly how the Force worked when it was like magical essence. Now they're just giving a scientific reason behind it. It still isn't that scientific. It's just, hey, there's little like beings in your blood that talk to certain people more than they talk to others.
You have the mitochondria that are the powerhouse of the cell, and then you have the midichlorian that is the force house of the cell. So
I have actually just weirdly recently heard an interesting theory of like why this happened, which is Star Wars is not science fiction. It's fantasy in space.
Mm-hmm.
And so little changes like this was like George Lucas trying to make it actually fit the like mantra and like tropes that you need to have to actually be considered science fiction. Because it has to be more science-based than mystical and magical. Like, He-Man and Masters of the Universe is not science fiction, it's science fantasy. Like, within that, like, realm of things. Like, Star Trek is the most perfect representation of, like, what science fiction is, right? This idea of, like, I believe, I don't totally remember what the definition was that I heard that they explained it as, but, like, everybody has to have a common goal, and it usually has to be based with an exploration of something, of like whatever the thing is. And like Star Wars doesn't have that. And also you have to be based in science, not in like, you can have some mysticism because that's like religion, and religion is inherently a part of science fiction. But like, you have to take away a lot of that for it to be it's weird. It was weird and goofy, but it's weird that this came up. But yeah, like, I guess, yeah, because like Jedi are wizards, you know what I mean? Like, it is all magic. So this was maybe his attempt to try to make it more science fiction-y, which is in fact,
I always looked at it
stupid.
as like a space opera. If you know, I mean, science fiction.
I didn't hear anybody saying
fantasy is right, huh?
That's technically true. There isn't one song in this entire.
What do you mean? I heard a bunch of choir people singing at the end there. They're going, "Tobo, Tobo."
Does it count? Does it
That
count?
counts. That's opera.
If it's at the end, like of the movie in the credits, does it count?
That totally
No,
counts.
Duel of the Fates is not like that's
That's like during the mall scene. Yeah.
That's exactly.
Here's the thing.
So that's during the
There's
movie.
a part of me that I want them to go back just to re-release a bunch of like new DVDs, but they re-release it where they
Give it 5 years.
They CG in an actual choir during the like Duel of Fates.
Just
So it
standing
has
In the
around.
background.
yeah, because there's George Lance like, well, technically it's not a space opera yet because we don't have actual singers in it, so we gotta include them.
No, it's a space opera by the third movie when they're actually watching those weird light beings, and that's an opera.
Actually, no.
That's
Well,
true.
no. Hold on. It's a space opera by time of Rise of Skywalker comes around because Rey and Palpatine are in an opera setting with all of those people.
The
Whatever they're doing.
Coliseum.
I hate that
Yes.
movie. We'll get there.
What do you guys feel about the Immaculate Conception thing too? Which I will
Oh,
say.
Jesus Christ! Let's bring it up.
Here's the thing, Joey, Joey. You are a comic book reader. You're a comic book
little
rundown. Have you been reading
too.
the Darth Vader comic?
I have not. The comics are the one thing I haven't been keeping up on.
So in last year, 2022, in
novels,
June,
actually.
Darth Vader number 25 got released, which confirmed
Okay.
the long-standing fan theory that was never confirmed in any of the movies or TV shows that Sidious and
Wait, was it-
Plagueis created Anakin.
I'm sorry. Did you say Sidious
Okay,
and
that one-
Claudius?
Both Sidious and Plagueis did like weird Sith like magic stuff, and they formed
Okay.
Anakin in Shmi's womb. They essentially force raped her.
That one I read because that was
Mhm.
the first series,
Yeah.
which came out. I think in 21 actually. But yes,
Oh, was it
that
21?
one I
Okay.
read. That one's cool. Yes.
Yeah, because he sees the flashback when Vader's having like flashbacks and moments in his life.
Yep.
He sees his conception, and it's them doing it.
He
And I was
sees,
like,
behind Shmi.
So are they like Eiffel Towering his mom, or is it like?
less fun than that. Not as fun. They're like, more like the Night Sistery type stuff, I think.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, but I was like, that's bold that they actually confirmed that. I thought they would go to the grave with this series. I'm not actually confirming that.
Well, sure, but because
Well, they
Lucas
gotta sell
doesn't
books,
own it
man.
anymore, they can do
Yeah.
whatever the hell they want.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to sell the books. You're right. Yeah. That's,
So
Yeah.
speaking of Anakin, though, that kid is a fucking terrible actor.
Jake Lord was trying his damnedest, giving it
Was
his
he
all.
though?
It just
he
wasn't
was.
good enough. It
He
was
just wasn't.
well,
a
he
great
was
actor.
because right after this, it's before this is Jingle All the Way, and
Mhm.
he is acting the same in both of these movies, and he's acting his heart out in both of these movies, and
Yes,
it's not good.
This
It
was
is
not
not
Jake
good.
Lloyd's fault. This was George Lucas, whoever made the casting decision. Terrible casting decision.
Lucas-
He literally was cast because he looked like a cute little 10-year-old. He's like, that's all I need. Just this
Yep.
kid
Yeah.
who looks like this.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's not a good actor. We all knew that. There's no way he like killed it in the audition.
Well, and he actually ended up like quitting acting because of this movie,
Yeah.
because of the backlash
Good.
of this movie.
Oh,
Well,
I mean,
I thought
think
it's
that,
Well, you say that, but then he's also been to jail for other reasons. So
that's true.
he did not get off of this movie unscathed. He kind of had a lot of problems.
I mean, did anyone get out of this movie
Mentally,
unscathed?
and
We had the Ahmed Best situation, Jake Lloyd. Like a lot of hated characters were like
Ewan
literally
McGregor,
driven into the ground.
Natalie Portman.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean characters that
Like
people
those-
hated. I don't think anyone hated Natalie Portman.
Oh no.
No, fuck Natalie Portman. If I
Um,
see her, it's on site.
I would.
okay?
I truly would fuck Natalie Portman on site also.
Like,
So
But you're not Mila Kunis, so you don't get to.
That's true.
Mm.
That's true.
look,
I think that this
I
is
can be
actually a
anybody
good
else.
this is a good representation of like an overarching theme in Star Wars, which is when George Lucas cares about the thing that he cares about, it's very good within the story. And then everything else just falls to shit. And when people like ask him about it or like want clarification on something, like, hey, maybe we should cast somebody who can act as Anakin. He's just like, oh, we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Everything's fine.
Well,
Like, I always think famously, like, Harrison Ford asks him, like, so how do I fly the ship? He's like, well, you just flip a switch and pull this and everything else. And like Harrison Ford wanted to like, no, how would I fly this ship so this looks realistic? Like, I think like the actors that take their role seriously in this really, really shine.
Mhm.
Because George Lucas can't direct out of a fucking
No.
paper bag.
George Lucas should have never been a
and
director.
the problem,
Never.
yeah, the problem was he did A New Hope, and then Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi, he handed off to other people to direct. When he wrote Phantom Menace and he was shopping around for people to direct this, and everybody's like, "No, George, this is your baby. You should take care of this. You should direct this." And I believe because he is good friends with Steven Spielberg, Spielberg was the one that finally said, "Just go ahead and take the reins. You can do this." And it shows you're
That he
you're
wasn't
right,
ready?
Chuck. Like he was not. He should not have done this. Like, yes, I mean, I would even argue that some of the writing is not great, but like then when we get to Revenge of the Sith, that's like one of my favorite Star Wars movies of all time. But that's he still wrote and directed that, So I don't know why these first two. I think the first two he leaned way too heavy into the CGI, like, and we'll get that in when we get to Attack the Clones. But like this one, I even read here on the in IMDb that a lot of the sets that were built were only as high as the top of an actor's head. So everything past like a couple inches over the top of the tallest actor was all CGI. And apparently, according to this IMDb, since Liam Neeson is so tall that he cost the set crew an extra $150,000 in construction. So I thought that was kind of fun. But just the fact that
Qui-Gon always causing problems.
Always. But they were leaning more into CGI when they shouldn't have. They should have actually made a good story. I'm not saying the story isn't bad. There's a ton of great things in here. I still, to this day, love the pod racing. But
what happened to pod racing? Pod racing was the most popular thing. And then it never existed ever again.
In 32 years, we get nothing else. I believe
would have been less than 32 years, wouldn't it?
Well, from 32 years till A New Hope.
Oh, okay.
So Phantom Menace to New Hope is 32 years. But
I don't remember seeing anything about it when he comes back.
Well, yeah, because that's like the war was about ready to start, like in Attack of the Clones, and then there was a war going on in Return of the Jedi or Revenge of the Sith.
But like they said when they landed on Tatooine originally, it's on the outskirts and it's run by the Hutts, so it didn't have anything to do with the war. So they should have still been pod racing. I mean, that was their big money maker.
Like the war was playing a lot in the outskirts if you watch Clone Wars. So yeah.
But regardless, pod racing was making them all of this money, all this gambling money. And yet it never comes back ever. You don't even
believe in one of the shows. I don't remember if it was one of the animated shows or if it was one of the live action. Pod racing does get brought back up again. I just don't remember.
Star Wars Visions had an episode with Joseph Gordon-Levitt where pod racing was the main point of it.
True, that one.
But wasn't that
maybe it was Bad Batch? Did Bad Batch have?
I don't
think
so.
Did they talk about pod racing at all?
That sounds familiar. It does sound familiar.
I remember seeing it again at some point, but like that's the only other reference to pod racing since this movie. Like there's not been any other pod racing thing at all outside of like one reference.
And then they made a pod racing game,
which I love. I love the game. Man, I played that game constantly on the 64. Loved it.
Yeah, I thought in The Last Jedi we were going to get a pod racing scene because when they're on, what's the casino planet called? Not Batu.
Canto Bight.
Canto Bight. When it rumbles a little bit, I was like, oh, it's going to be pod racing outside. And then it was like...
Would have been great.
Dog racing or something, the horse racing or whatever. And I was like, oh, that would have been a perfect opportunity to bring back a pod race.
Yeah.
But they did not. So, did anyone else think Qui-Gon Jinn was totally going to fuck Shmi?
Yeah, 100%. And we don't know that he didn't.
That's true. We don't know that he did because he was getting really friendly with her. Come lean on me.
So, apparently Liam Neeson convinced George Lucas to keep a scene where Qui-Gon Jinn puts his hand on Shmi Skywalker's shoulder. Lucas felt this might be out of character for the monk-like Jedi, but Neeson thought there should be an emotional connection between the characters.
And Qui-Gon's always played outside the rules a little bit. We've learned.
And Qui-Gon is just an emotional, like he is an emotional Jedi. Like,
yeah, we know all the Jedi. They're like the Christian kids in college I went to. They all had side pieces, just no one talked about it.
Yeah, exactly. But that also kind of leads into why, well, not why Anakin did what he did, but if you'd watch the Clone Wars, you kind of see Obi-Wan have some sort of relationship with, I can't remember her name, the one from Mandalore. Bo-Katan's sister.
You said, Sabine? No, not Sabine. Yeah, Bo-Katan's sister, Ren, right?
I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Sabine.
No, Sabine
is not
in Rebels.
Isn't she named after Sabine?
No.
Isn't Sabine named after
Duchess Satine?
Satine, that's it.
Satine. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Duchess Satine. Her and Qui-Gon had, or her and Obi-Wan had you could tell they had some sort of relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And learning from Qui-Gon, he probably like, oh, well, as long as the Jedi don't know.
As long as it's just a one-night stand and you don't get attached, then you're good.
And that's why Anakin failed.
Yes, exactly.
What if Qui-Gon is Anakin's father?
Ooh.
Like, what if he showed up there and banged her one time? If he's following the rules. One night stand, doesn't get emotionally attached. But then he finds out that she's got pregnant. So then he has to go back. He's like, well, maybe I got to start paying some child support here. I got to figure that out. And the Metachlorian content is actually like DNA test.
Under the guise of a DNA test. Yeah. Here's the thing. What if Qui-Gon did it, but it's like more of a Terminator situation where we find out later at the end of Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon shows up as a Force ghost. What if he's able to go back in time as a Force ghost? Screw Shmi creates Anakin. I want.
Hey, guess what, Jordan? You just said it on the podcast, so now it's canon.
Yeah, that's how that works. Because, think about it. Okay, so
from this podcast.
It tests. It's like, oh shit, high metachlorine content. This is my kid. I'm fucked. He shows up. He then purposely dies. Right?
See, I was going to put that on. I actually had that written. I had that written down of like, because he gets stabbed in the gut, and if I've learned anything from more Star Wars, you can survive getting stabbed in the gut.
Well, especially with a lightsaber, because a lightsaber would cauterize all your internal shit, so you wouldn't actually have the shit pumping out in you. You wouldn't get sepsis and die. Plus, it would have taken him a lot longer to die from the sepsis. Now, granted, it might have severed his spinal cord, in which case he wouldn't be able to walk again, which maybe he just passed out. And then, Obi-Wan was like, well, but he's dead. I'm in charge now. And
Actually, he's alive.
No, he purposely died because he did not want to. Yeah. He purposely died because he did not want to have to take care of Anakin. He 100% freed Anakin. Yep. And it's like, man, the Jedi Council is actually right. This kid's a little shit.
You have to go with.
Maybe it was also because Anakin was an idiot. Like, the kid was just dumb.
Not really. He was told to stay in the cockpit. He stayed in the cockpit.
No. I'm not talking about that. Like,
went into space.
Like, he just, it might have also just been the acting in, but he just comes off like he's not all there upstairs. Like, fucking motor's not firing on all 8 cylinders type of deal.
I mean, if you were born into slavery in Tatooine, you're probably a little stunted. Without a father.
His dad showed up later and freed him.
I also think that there's also a possibility that because of this theory that Qui-Gon was actually worked for the Sith the whole time.
Ooh.
Because then he knew that Anakin would become Darth Vader. He's like, okay, I have to go die. So, you know what I mean? I have to give him his villain arc on purpose.
Qui-Gon is the first ghost, right? The Force ghost.
Yeah, he's like the first one that figures out how to do it.
Yep.
And he's also, I mean, Chuck actually might have a pretty good theory on that because he's also like one of the people that was like hell bent on this prophecy being a true thing. And to balance out the Force,
I believe he was the only one. The rest of them just didn't care.
Mm-hmm. And to balance out the Force, because technically the Force was out of balance because there were way more Jedi than there were Sith. So, I mean...
Yep.
I always viewed it as you wipe them all out. Here's the thing. I always viewed that the balance was all the Jedi are gone, all the Sith are gone, all that remains is this one dude who was kind of brought up outside both orders, right? Luke Skywalker, to kind of carry it on. As we move past this, you kind of realize that whole story is for nothing. Because you got all these Inquisitor or other like Inquisitor type people. You got these gray Jedi type, like these other Jedi type people that were still out there that we just didn't see in our narrow scope of the Skywalker saga. And it's like, okay, so he really didn't do anything. He just kind of killed a few people, and then the rest of the world still goes on like it was with other people using the Force.
Yeah, George Lucas was really good at making a humongously large, never-ending universe feel so fucking small.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so small.
Well, see, no, that's not just Lucas, because Lucas had the 6 being about the Skywalker family, but Disney came back with 7, 8, 9 and was like, yeah, let's do more Skywalker things. Because we can't get away from that.
Yeah, I know. It was so dumb. They were going such a great direction in Last Jedi, and then they just brought it all back to like.
I blame Abrams for that one. Anyway, I
guess I'll take it.
To the point, Anakin was the chosen one. Anakin did bring balance to the Force because in Return of the Jedi, by that point in time, we don't have a ton of like. I believe majority of the Inquisitors are dead or gone. All the Jedi are gone, obviously. All we have is left is Luke Skywalker. Yoda had just passed away.
Well, that's not true because we know there's other ones out there because Ahsoka was out there.
That's true. And also
as a Jedi.
And Leia, technically.
Leia's out there, and then also we know that Ezra's out there, even though he's in another universe. Ezra Bridger's out there. Like, there's other Jedi out there.
Okay, so... Fair. Okay, that's fair point. I forgot about those guys.
That's what I'm saying. When you start broadening the scope a little bit, the whole
isn't Kit Fisto still alive somewhere?
No.
Was who alive?
I don't know. Wasn't
he got done stabbed by?
Did he?
Done stabbed by?
Yeah, he's the last one to die, right? And that's like the whole
who's that
in that group of 4?
Kit Fisto.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Dan on the network is just like obsessed with Ahsoka and Kit Fisto, and it's really fucking uncomfortable. So.
See, I like
Ahsoka. I make sense.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The younger version of Ahsoka, he's like really obsessed.
That doesn't make sense.
No, it's weird. It's like super weird.
Also, when we start bringing up the whole Dathomirian, like Night Sister stuff, like you realize there's other people out there using all this stuff. Like they make the Force seem like it's this really big thing just for the Jedi. You're like, there's really all these magical characters out there doing stuff anyway.
But that was the whole point of Luke's speech in Last Jedi. The Jedi were too hung up on their own whatever.
They were the Catholics doing the
they had to exactly
the Anglo-Saxons going through the Spanish Crusades and whatnot. Like they thought they were the best thing ever, even if it meant wiping people out. You know.
Yep. Christianity.
Jedi are not good people.
No, you're right. Jedi are not good people. Force users, totally fine.
Force users are good.
No.
Yeah.
So Bail Antilles got his name dropped in here from Alderaan, which makes me think there's a Bail Antilles, there's a Bail Organa. Is Bail just like the most common name on Alderaan? Like everyone's named Bail over there.
Yeah, it's like Smith.
Yeah, it's
Bail Antilles.
When Chancellor Valorum gets pushed out of power, they go Bail Antilles from Alderaan. Chief Palpatine.
He was one of the. Yeah.
No, it was Bail Organa from Alderaan.
No, Bail Antilles.
No, they say Antilles.
It's Wedge's like grandfather or uncle or something. I remember from like the legend stuff. That's how they said. That's why I was like, there's Bail Organa and there's Bail Antilles, both from Alderaan. What is this?
The way that works is it was probably somebody really important's name at one point in time, and then everybody was just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna throw that down as my kid's name," you know?
Yeah, maybe that's true. That's true. It's okay. Everyone naming their kid Katniss for that 1 year. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Except for that one person that didn't understand and named their kid Catnip.
Catnip.
So we haven't really talked about
point I
Darth
wanted to bring
Maul
up here.
and
Darth Maul's a fucking badass. Like,
I
feel like
am sad that the trailer revealed the dual lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wish that would have just kept.
They had
that
to
for the
sell
movie.
toys, bud. You know what I mean?
They had to sell tickets. I get it. Like the marketing alone for this movie. I remember the summer of '99 and all this coming out. I was collecting those Pepsi cans and Mountain Dew cans with all the faces on them, and I was collecting literally everything, anything Star Wars. Because I'm like, oh man, it's the first Star Wars movie in like 2 decades. It's gonna be amazing.
Three decades, son.
No, 83 to 99. Not even 2 decades.
Yeah, no, it was the first Star Wars though. The other ones were 4, 5, and 6.
Shut up. Anyway,
but so can we talk about how
when they showed him, it was sad. I just say they could have kept the reveal for the movie. That's all I'm saying.
True.
Go ahead, Ron.
So Palpatine overthrows Zod to take over the council, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean that because Darth Vader overthrows Palpatine, that he's stronger than a Kryptonian?
Darth Vader's not. Palpatine is.
Oh,
Vader just got Palpatine at the wrong time, I guess. Right moment in time. I don't know what you want to call it.
He goosed him and threw him over a rail. I mean,
Star Wars is nothing but giant shafts into nothing, I guess, that people get thrown down into.
Dude, right? Like, what the fuck is up with the way they build these places? How is that even possible? Also, how does the fucking center of a world end up being water and not fucking, liquid hot magma?
I got nothing. I don't know.
And another thing, why is it that every planet is like one biome? Tatooine is nothing but desert, right?
Yeah.
Hoth is nothing but ice.
Sure.
Even Naboo is nothing but a forest. And so is
it's got the water. Because they have the Gungans and they got the Nabooians.
Okay. What about the one planet where the clone factory is at, where it's like all water?
I don't think it's actually all water. I think
Camino?
I think in Camino, though, they tell you there's actually land masses in like one of the books or something like that.
And then what is it?
I think they have it in the Clone Wars too. Or
where the Wookiees live, Kashyyyk or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's all fucking forest.
No, because they have a beach like assault in that.
Dude, look, forests have to have water. What I'm saying is there's no weather. There's no, like cold area or extreme hot area. It's all like one climate.
I think the better question is, why do big furry creatures live on hot, dank forest planets?
Bigfoot.
Is that the theory? That's dumb.
I mean, California, all the forests in California are hot, right? And that's where Bigfoot's normally at.
No, all the forests are up in the north.
Fire.
They're up in the north, so they're actually a bit colder.
Yeah,
they're on fire. So they're
just like they're in Oakland, like specifically just Oakland.
Yeah, and Oakland is fire for sure.
Yep, 100%.
Love it. One thing that I've always remembered from the book, and because of that, I would see it here, but it's like a split second. When Padme, or when Queen Amidala says to Palpatine that she's going to go back to Naboo, she's going to fight for her city and all that. As they leave, and you get the wipe on Palpatine, did any of you guys notice his smile?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is it starts to wipe away, and as it wipes up to his chin, he starts to like form a smile. In the novelization, they do a really cool thing where Jar Jar is the last to leave after Padme left, after the handmaidens left, after Panaka left, and so Jar Jar gets to leave, and he turns back to see Palpatine. As the doors close on him, he sees that Palpatine has got a smile on his face, and it's a nice little. If you know that Palpatine becomes the Emperor, like you know that he's manipulating all this for his benefit. It's just a nice little thing to little Easter egg to see in there. I always thought that was cool.
So you guys know how in A New Hope there's that scene where the stormtrooper hits his head on the thing, and in the background everyone laughs and stuff. There was a scene in this movie that made me laugh. That was in the background I never noticed before. Is after Anakin wins the pod race and Shmi's giving him like a kiss and being like, "Good job, Annie." If you look in the background, the little Greedo kid is like falling off of one of the camels, like literally falling off of it, and then just like falls out of frame. And I was like, "That's amazing." I didn't. It's so weird in the background. Go look at that scene one more time, and then just have a good laugh.
I'm gonna have to. I love it. I love it. I've got nothing else on my notes.
That was all my notes.
We really didn't talk about Darth Maul being all cool, but other than that, he was just cool. I mean, he was an
underplayed character that was totally badass.
Sure. Well, yeah, in the movie, he had like 3 lines. Apparently, the guy who dubbed over the voice, because they didn't want Ray Park actually doing the voice, said that there was a lot more lines that he had recorded, but that they just didn't put in the film, like it got cut. There is, in the book, there's a scene where he does this whole dialogue of something about getting revenge on the Jedi. I can't remember exactly what. And I know they say some of it in the movie, but there's like a whole like good long dialogue in the book that he talks about that was not in the movie. Apparently, it was in the trailer way back when, but never made it to film.
But I think that's what makes Darth Maul good. Is like he doesn't talk. Like so when he has such limited words. So like when he does talk, it should mean something. I mean,
it's supposed to mean something.
I think the delivery falls flat, unfortunately, but that's direct.
Because the next thing we see him canonically is in the Clone Wars cartoon. Now, the next time we see him in a movie,
shut the fuck up.
Will be at but that's also played by Sam Witwer, and I love that man. So fine.
Yeah.
But next time we see him in the movies is at the end of Solo. And I just would love to be somebody who's never watched the Clone Wars cartoons and has only watched the movies and it's like, wait, he died. What the hell?
It's his twin brother.
No, his brother died too, remember?
No, I know. I'm just saying if someone didn't know, they would think like, it's his twin brother. But it's like, no, we know.
Yeah, yes. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
So
I was bummed that they never gave him the chicken legs. Like they never really give him the chicken legs. And we were always promised robot chicken legs.
Well, he gets it in the cartoon.
Yeah, but not like barely.
Yeah, not as much. Right. I mean, I guess too in Rebels you see at the very, very end when the duels Obi-Wan, he kind of has the legs. He has to.
Yeah. I mean, they're. I don't know. They're fine. They're fine. I don't know. When I think robot chicken legs, I don't think those. I think they look bad.
No,
but like it is interesting to see that progression of like, body like. Shifting, right? Because like he's version 1, right? They cut him in half and he gets robot legs, and like Grievous is version 2, right? Whereas like almost completely replaced in almost any conceivable way, but he's like sick and he's still dying and he's barely able to hold on, but he can still do shit. And then like Vader is like version 3, which is like perfect cell form, right? Like he's still able to
not very perfect. He still has that breathing problem.
That was intentional, though.
It was
to make him scary.
No, it was intentional to make him less powerful in the Force, so he couldn't take over from Palpatine because Palpatine planned the whole thing.
No, it's a scare tactic because it's scary. There's nothing more terrifying.
Than hearing nothing's more terrifying than a fucking asthmatic. Hold on,
You're telling me. You've never seen it. Never mind. Nope. Never mind. We'll get there we'll just get there.
You gotta wait.
Yeah, we'll get there when we
get there. Yep. We all know what you're talking about.
Because you haven't seen it. So
right, well, let's go ahead and do. I think if that's
Anything with
everything we got,
scary,
let's go. Ahead,
Ron, that's all I'm saying.
we'll go ahead and do our wrap up. And before I do the kill count, I got a new segment that I asked Jordan to do that we're going to be doing specifically for Star Wars, because this is something that happens in Star Wars. Jordan, who has a bad feeling?
In this one, Obi-Wan has a bad feeling. Like 3 minutes into the movie, the first thing he says in the movie is, "I got a bad feeling about this."
Thank you very much. Yep.
So speaking of adding things, I haven't talked to you about this, but the times that R2-D2 saves the universe.
I mean, that should be like the kill count.
Because there's at least 2 of them in this movie. You have when he saves them fleeing Naboo, and then you have when he saves Anakin in the control
Naboo Starfighter.
Yeah. Those are the only 2 I could think of for this movie. But then as we progress, it gets more and more lenient or leaning on R2 to.
Personally, when we get to episode 3, when I get to shoot my theory that R2-D2 also works for the Sith the entire time, so I'm actually quite excited.
Can't wait to hear that one.
Yeah.
All right, so our kill count. I had to look up what was online, because according to online, they actually have a breakdown. And now, mind you, when Anakin destroys the Trade Federation ship,
that's just one kill.
Every single. I know it's one kill. You guys made that clear. 80 episodes in, I think I figured it out by now. But
I don't know, because sometimes your kill count don't make no sense. So
they counted it as individual, and so their kill count was 149,342. But they're counting like 100,000 on the ship, 10,000. No, they're counting 100,000 droids that deactivated. They're counting the 10,000 on the ship.
Droids aren't real.
Little things.
Yeah, and there was definitely not 100,000 droids down on that army. That army looked way smaller than I remember as a kid. I was like,
100% droids have skulls, dude. Okay. You can't tell me the droids don't have skulls.
They don't.
Dude, they are sarcastic. They are fucking humorous. Like
Roger.
They're just programmed to do that. We're literally programming AI to do that as we speak. No,
and AI has soul. I'm counting them as dying because I don't want to have to recount if I otherwise. So I got a total of 203.
You better put an asterisk on it then.
No, I'm not. 203. 203. And a lot of that was the war at the very end when they're fighting, the Gungans and the droids are fighting each other.
Realistically speaking, you take that scene out, like it's a literal.
Yeah, you really didn't need it.
It's a war scene. I guarantee you the count is still less than Batman. 100%.
No, because Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are flashing droids left and right. Like I had
are not
about
real.
50. Yes, they are. I had like 50 in the first 10 minutes. Yes.
Then if that's the case, if droids count as a kill, then that completely breaks the theory that Jedi have this code versus killing. Which they
dude, the Jedi's code versus killing is
code versus killing.
They absolutely had a code versus killing.
100%. But their code is don't kill anybody while people are watching and can report you on it.
Yeah, that I don't. I mean, they're cops. Duh.
It's no witnesses.
Another organization I'm familiar with.
no witnesses, no alibis. Oh.
Anyway.
They absolutely don't kill, though. They'll tell you that. Read any of the extended bullshit.
No, they don't.
They're like, we don't kill. We're not killers.
Just like Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Our lightsabers are like hugs.
They're just keepers of the peace. However, by whatever means necessary.
Yeah. They don't. Much like Peacemaker.
They're like Peacemaker. Peacemaker will get the peace by killing any man, woman, or child that he has to.
Exactly.
100%.
Ron,
I
what's
just
our
watched
bingo?
that the other day too. That's great. Okay, bingo.
I did too. Yeah, it's great movie. Great show.
So obviously the heroes kill. There's government interference. There's a dying mentor. Unexplainable science. Talking tropes. Comic logic. Even though it wasn't a. Well, I guess it was a comic first technically.
It technically was a comic first before 1977 came out. So
yep.
Before New Hope came out.
I kind of consider it a villain monologue. Because Palpatine does have quite a few speaking parts, but I don't know if it actually counts. Like where he's
but he's not a villain. Well, no, I mean Sidious, I guess. Anyway.
Yeah, I think that's all I had for. I tentatively put down dead parents, but that doesn't happen until later. So
that doesn't work. We also
that's not true because we canonically decided that Qui-Gon is his dad. Therefore, he does have a dead parent. So dead parent count.
Okay, fair enough.
That's how that works.
Yep. Yeah, there is a Wilhelm scream when they are trying to get to the ships there at the final battle. So
is there? I missed that.
There is. Yep.
I'm sure there was some fathers in the war, with the Gungans.
Plenty of dead parents.
I mean, realistically speaking, how many droid building machines did they kill? Those are technically all fathers because droids are human in this fucking bullshit.
We didn't see any of them die, though.
I didn't say human. I said they have souls. There's a difference.
You have to be alive to have a soul, Joey.
My point is the droid could get cut in half, and they could just take his core processor and put it in another droid, and he's essentially the same person. So that's why I don't think that they could be considered dying.
Which they
can never die. They could just be moved if they want to.
They also don't have living organs and a heart and things that make you human beings.
So only humans. So only humans are living things. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying all organic.
So I'm going to start.
Makes you a living thing. Yes.
So is Grievous General Grievous a living thing?
Yes.
Yeah, because he was a real living human thing that had replaced his body with mechanical parts.
He actually wasn't human.
Now you're getting into the ship of Theseus theory. No, that's different.
Is Darth Vader human?
Yes, he was human.
He's more droid than human now.
It doesn't matter.
He's not 100% droid. He wasn't conceived as a droid.
But he's more droid.
Well, he wasn't conceived as a human either. He was conceived through the Force. So I mean,
that's
technically,
true. So maybe he doesn't have a soul. Maybe
exactly. So he's not human.
Then okay, I'll give you Anakin's not a human either. That's fine. He acts like he's not a human. So
I mean, that's true.
But where do we get with the? We'll do that. Talk about that next movie about clones and souls.
They're all sharing the same one.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got a little bit of an argument to come up, huh? Okay, shoot.
We'll get there next movie.
So, Spawn Cave Continuum.
Spawn Cave Continuum.
Yeah. Oh, the fucking CG is garbage in this movie. The only time that it looks good, like kind of like what Jordan said in the beginning, is like it only looks good when it's the entire thing is CG, like when it's those landscape shots or it's in space stuff. Although I'd even argue that the opening scene where the ship's coming into the like Federation space station and the droids that also double as like starfighters or whatever look awful. They look super rubbery and weird. And like this doesn't hold up. I'm gonna say a negative 147 capes out of 1. Like it's bad. It doesn't make no sense. There was some stuff that like the pod racing looked really good. Like I thought that really held up.
That was practical. A lot of that was practical. So
and like the electricity between it still looked good, like all that stuff. Like I don't know. So most of it looked good. Was
most of the green screen was
Sabosa a puppet most of the time?
No, he was CG.
Even when he was in the pod?
Sebulba was
when he was in the pod, maybe he was a puppet, but definitely was mostly CG.
And what's the one that owned? Sure I can never think of his name. Watto. Thank you. Did they go in between? Because it felt like they were going in between. Like when it was close-up shots, he was a puppet.
It's probably the best looking CG in the whole movie, to be honest. Because
so that one got
skinned. That's
why.
Well,
I mean, for this version, Yoda looked really good CG, but that's also because we knew he was a puppet that looked like shit, that they changed it to the version we watched on Disney Plus. So I don't know. No, like the funny thing is, I watched this anytime it was on when I had cable, anytime it was on TNT, I'd sit down and watch it. And like I never had an issue with it. But for whatever reason, watching it now on Disney Plus and paying attention on my TV and not on my phone, the CG to me looked bad. I don't know why.
It's because TVs are too big and the clarity is too good these days. You can't fly under the radar.
Well, yeah, but my TV is like 15 years old, so it shouldn't have been that good.
Oh, well, it's still big, probably.
But I am going through on my PlayStation, my PS5, so I don't know.
It's weird that they've gone back and remastered these so many times, and yet it still looks like horseshit.
No, it looks worse because they remastered it. I feel like it looks worse because of that.
Yeah, I'll agree to that. I'd say that like the original stuff probably would have looked better because then there wouldn't be such a big cut when you go from the stuff that actually looks good to the stuff that doesn't look good. So you'd be like, oh, it was all garbage, you know? So it all...
when we get to the original trilogy and we'll be watching more than likely a special edition on Disney Plus, you see how bad it is when it goes from the 1977 original filming to the 1996 special editions. That's a bad transition.
That scene they added in with Jabba and the hangar and Han Solo always is terrible.
Yeah. I used to love watching that, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, literally because of that. But yes, you're right. That scene looks terrible. And I also understand why they took it out, because they literally said everything with Greedo. Mm-hmm. So it didn't have to be said again. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. We'll get to it. But anyway, on to our rating. So, Jordan, since you are our guest, you'll start. Out of 10, what do you give this?
A 5.5. No Star Wars, even the worst Star Wars, is going to get that low for me. I enjoy them no matter how bad they are. So, a 5.5. This will probably be the lowest I go.
Okay. Chuckles?
Like, I still like this movie. Like, the things that I loved in this, like pod racing, was really dope when I was a kid. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I love the aesthetic of this movie. Like, I love the like old, like everything has like a curvature to it, and it looks like Flash Gordon, which like I really love, and like I know that's what he was trying to go for, right? He was trying to go for that like Flash Gordon aesthetic and give it like
he's always had a fascination with Flash Gordon.
Yeah, and just like that old, like trying to have something of an old aesthetic in a futuristic setting. I think Queen Amidala is like one of the best characters, and they were doing such a great job, and then I think that they ruin it with a love story, but that's just me. The lightsaber battle at the end is like fucking rad. It's really cool. It when you dissect that more, and it's like you understand emotion that they're really trying to do, and this idea that like Qui-Gon just fucking gives up for some reason, and we don't really know why, and we're having to watch Ben have to regulate himself. Like, it's a great little bit of like understanding mental health, like and stuff in time of grief and anger. And then like, double fucking lightsaber. Like, we never seen that before. It was so cool. And Maul looked rad. Like, but there's a lot about this that sucked too. Like, the battle on the Gungan battle is like terrible. I don't like it. I never thought it was good. It's stupid. It feels like a MacGuffin-y kind of thing, and just like doesn't work for me anymore. The whole like them going under the water and being chased by like sea creatures, dumb and stupid, and it looks terrible, especially nowadays. I'm gonna give this like fish. I'm gonna say
it wasn't a fish. It was a fish with a dude with a fish's head. Come on.
Anyway,
I'm gonna say 4.2.
Ooh,
damn.
Okay. It's not my favorite. I still like this better than some that are on this list, but it's not my favorite.
Okay. Ron?
Also not my favorite Star Wars movie. I remember all the hype of this when it was first coming out. Like, I was super excited for it. I didn't actually get to watch it in theaters because my family wouldn't go watch movies that they weren't interested in, and since I was the minority on that one, we didn't get to watch this in theaters. But like, I was super excited to watch it, and then when I did watch it, which was like months after it had already came out, a lot of shit had been spoiled for me, obviously. Not as much as would be nowadays that the internet is in full fucking swing, but like enough of it got ruined for me to where like I already knew things that were going to happen ahead of time. But it was still fun to watch. Like Chuck said, the pod racing was cool as shit to watch. Watching it again, it's a little less fun because they don't really like they're just killing people off like in the first like 30 seconds of the pod race. Like they could have given us a little bit more exhibition for the pod race, I feel. Especially since there were only like 5 people racing.
No, there's like 10. They only ever showed 5.
Yeah. But like the lightsaber battles were awesome, and it was a big change from the lightsaber battles that we were used to, because the old ones were so like slowly choreographed, and there wasn't much movement because obviously the dude in Vader's costume couldn't get much movement, and fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi was ancient.
There's a reason for that, and when we get to A New Hope, I'll bring it up, or I'm sure Jordan might bring it up. I'm sure you know about that too. So,
what had a hard time mapping out the lightsabers?
No, they had a different style.
Yeah, it's about how the lightsabers were originally viewed, the fighting style.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Like that, we'll bring it up when we get to A New Hope.
But regardless, the lightsaber battles were fun. Like there were certain things about it that were interesting. I like how much later on they give the battle droid. Well, even the battle droids in this still have personality, which is pretty fun because they're idiots. But it's like your dumb idiot cat. It makes you chuckle, but it's also just a dumb idiot.
Why are you talking about Felix that way?
Actually, I was talking about this one, but
Eston.
Yeah, but I'm giving it a 5.8.
Okay.
Which will probably be the second lowest Star Wars rating for me.
Well, this has nostalgia for me. This came out in 99. I was like 16. I was a teenager when this one came out. We saw it in theaters, but it wasn't until it went to the dollar theater, or the $3 theater, I think is what it was at the time. I could be wrong.
No, at that time it was still a dollar theater. It didn't bump up.
Was it still $1.99? Okay.
Yep.
Like
it didn't bump up until 2003, I think.
Okay. Like I love Star Wars, and this is definitely not. This is one where over the years it has been the lowest for me for a while, but after reading the novels, after getting more Star Wars that helped explain things, it's moved up a little bit. It's not my lowest anymore, but it still is low on my list when I do Star Wars by itself. There's a lot of fun things in here. We talked about the pod racing, the lightsaber fights, but there still is some bad. That being said, I'm giving this a 7.1. I really did enjoy this, and it's always been one of the ones, like I said earlier, where it can be on TV and I would just sit down and watch it. Most of really any Star Wars, I do that too. But yeah, this one, 7.1 for me, which gives us a combined score, an average score of 5.65. And that will drop it in at number 37 out of 80.
Yeah.
So not a bad spot.
I feel like that's
pretty... just behind. Yes, it's just behind The Incredibles and just above The Trial of Incredible Hulk and Captain America from 1990. So
what a crazy
and it's a little bit higher than our last Liam Neeson movie, which was Darkman, that only made it a 5.42. So
yeah. So I'm also going to be keeping track of Star Wars movies itself. So like we'll have the regular rundown reviews.
You're doing a separate category rankings for them as we go,
and then a separate. I'm gonna do it. So anytime we do a series, so like when we get into the MCU, I'll do it like that. When we do maybe even the Dark Knight series, maybe I gotta figure that one out. But anytime we do an actual series of movies, I'll keep a separate tracker for that one. So,
dude, if you're gonna do the
as
MCU
of right now, it's
series,
number 1 on that one. So, yay.
You're gonna have to be a podcast for the next 12 years if you're gonna do the MCU series.
I know. We'll get.
Joey's not a quitter, okay?
We actually.
No offense to our, everybody else on the show.
That's fine. I totally quit. I'm okay to admit that.
Here's the problem. I also have a tendency of overdoing things. I don't know why. I do too much. It's what it is. But yeah. So that's our list right now. We had not a bad spot. I'm looking forward to us continuing on because I know we're gonna have some great movies, great Star Wars movies in the future.
Real quick, I just found this super fascinating. So this movie had a $115 million budget.
Okay.
And on opening weekend made $64,820,970 opening weekend.
That's a nice opening weekend.
Is that considered a nice opening weekend
for that time?
I mean, it
course, yeah.
it definitely makes its money back.
The 90s, yeah.
Grossing worldwide, it made over $1 billion. It made over $1 billion, and grossing just in the it made 475 million, just short of 475 million.
If it made almost 65 million opening weekend, I think Endgame, like one of the best opening weekends of the MCU, made what, like 90 something on opening weekend?
Never mind,
Something
also
like
all the merchandising stuff that it makes. And stuff.
Oh yeah, Star Wars is crazy with the merchandising.
If you throw all of this into inflation, it really actually had a $212 million budget, and it made 119, just a little over 119 million opening weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds killer to me.
That's insane. Like when you think about it, like that was the hype. So I'm very interested to see what the change is going from the first one to the second one.
No, it's still hype. The second one, my parents actually took me out of school the morning it came out to go see it. Like the hype is insane.
Nice.
I don't remember.
I remember going to see the second one opening weekend, and just because it was a packed theater, I think myself and my friend I went with. You know how you have in most movie theaters, you've got the walkway, you've got the lower level, you got the higher, like the upper level. A lot of theaters have. We had to sit down the lower level because the theater was just packed.
Yeah,
I remember episode 1. I went to a different town to watch it because I don't remember, because my cousin took me, and it was like he wanted to go to that one instead. And then when the second one came out, I had to wait 2 weeks because tickets were already sold out. Like at that time, and that was like what, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had to physically go buy them early. Yep. And so like they were sold out for like 2 weeks. So I do really remember that being the hype, but also they were doing it to themselves because they had taken, I think, half of the theaters and made them Star Wars, which for my theater was like 6, if that, not even, maybe 4. So it's just interesting.
But still, it was enough. Yeah.
I do remember when the third one came out, it was at the other theater, which only has one theater. It's like the oldest theater in town. It's actually it played the first talkies ever. Fun fact. So that theater, they only had 2 showings on weekends. That was it. And the line was down the block. It was wild. So
nice.
But I remember, I'm very curious to look at the money numbers and see if it does any well, like especially between 2 and 3, because 2 has like not good ratings. So,
and then 3 was just amazing, and we'll get to that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But until we get to that, let's go ahead and say our goodbyes. Jordan, thank you for coming on here. I appreciate it. I don't know about the other 2.
Yeah,
we love having Jordan on here.
I think it's an excuse to dust off the mic. I love it.
Exactly. Hey, let everyone know if you want them to, where they can find you. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm just on Instagram, BS and craft beer. That's where you can find me. I don't do too much on the socials anymore. I'm kind of just living life, watching TV a lot.
We'll put his address in our show notes so you can have him send you some beer.
Yeah, put that address right in there. Yeah, or you can send me some beer, come stalk me, do whatever you want.
Chuck?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok, Kicked Out of the Hood, No Eating Kicked. You can find my cooking TikTok. Listen, any moment now, I'm going to be just cranking out so much content.
You keep saying that, and yet
this is coming out at the end of January. You should already have so much content. It's January now.
There is so much content on there right now.
I will have maybe 2 days to make content this holiday season if I'm lucky. You can follow me at Kicked Out of the Kitchen, No Eating Kicked. That's it.
Ron?
Joey, where can they find you?
Nope.
Damn, Chuck, thanks.
I do that every time. I just got to keep the gimmick alive.
Well, I'm not Joey, but you can find me good at this game on Instagram and TikTok. And I also have my art Instagram at Good Art This Game. Hey, Joey, where can they find you?
You guys can find me over on. Really, I've been spending more time on Threads. I've got the show over on TikTok.
You are the only one.
Well, it is on TikTok. I can tell. It's on Twitter. It's on Instagram. We can. I like Threads. I've actually gotten a ton of interactions over on Threads. So if you are watching this or listening to this and you know if you found me through Threads, welcome. Thanks for checking us out.
So you can throw us. They could throw show reviews on Threads then, and then you could read those.
I totally could.
Wait, is there a visual medium?
And then we also have a YouTube.
Is there a visual medium of the show?
Yeah, we're on YouTube now.
We're on YouTube now.
I'll show up naked. It'll really get your ratings up.
Maybe.
I don't know. It depends on what you're showing, I guess.
Or down.
We have too many strikes as it is.
Okay, I will. Okay.
Yeah,
ruin that episode 1. Okay.
Well, and I think the Constantine episode as well. But so we're on almost all the socials. Look up Comic Book Rundown. You can email us comicbookrundown@gmail.com, rate and review us on any of the socials or on your
and if you're in Indiana in March, you can come see us at Comic-Con.
Haven't gotten the go ahead with that yet, so I can't say yes to that.
I will still be at Comic-Con. They can still see me.
We'll be at Comic-Con. But we're trying to do a trivia thing over at Comic-Con this year instead of a panel. So
it'll still be a panel.
Go ahead for that. You know what that means. Shut up. We've got merch over on Redbubble and TeePublic, and our song was done by Cam.
Who is no longer in anything.
No, exactly. He'll be a father soon.
Is he going to be a doctor soon?
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. He's going to be a father in like 4 months or something, and then he'll be Dr.
Father
Cam.
Dr. Father Cam. That's
good on him. You know,
I need to hit him up. I haven't talked to him in forever.
He's busy, man. I've been trying to hang out with that crew and like play video games every week for the past 3 months, and it keeps falling through. Someone keeps having to cancel.
Here's the thing. I reached out to Joe and Kreger, and we talked for like 2 minutes, and then that was it.
Yeah, no,
neither one of them came
so
back.
Busy over there.
Well, they all have
I get it. Trust me.
Beautiful, wonderful, cherished lives and relationships. Fucking
partners
dorks.
and
idiots. Stupid idiots.
Yeah. Fucking being horrible relationships like the rest of us.
I say it's
speak for yourself. I'm in good relationships. I mean,
well, that makes one of us, Ron.
That makes 2 of us. Joey's in a really good relationship too.
Yeah,
okay, I get it. It's just me. I suck at relationships. Thanks for reminding me.
That's for skipping me every time we go to fucking do the end credits.
That's fair.
Our next movie we're gonna be watching will be the animated TMNT, the animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 2007, which technically is like the sequel to 3, but It's animated, so we're watching that one because that's the next on the list.
I mean, 3's about time travel, so
Wow.
only with the animated ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought there was more. I just thought there was more.
Well, so I skipped the Condor because fuck that movie.
Yeah, if I wasn't showing up to that, I was not paying the.
Joey would have been watching that one alone.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I would have been on the show, but I'd be like, I didn't watch it. So this is what I think happened.
Oh, we could have done one of those great episodes where somebody didn't watch it and the other two had to explain what the movie was and if they thought it was good just in the explanation.
That Iron Man one was great. I edited that one not too long ago. That was a great one. Okay.
It's not.
I loved it.
All right, guys. I will talk to you later.
Yep. Have a good one.
Oh, yeah. Bye, everybody.
I'll see you in a month.
Yeah, we're still recording.
What the fuck are you doing?
He's like, I'm piecing out of this.
Jesus.